necessarily need to quit your job, but then you need to build yourself mentally so strong कि यार मेरी वर्थ इस नौकरी से नहीं आ रही है. एज एन इंडिविजुअल जो भी मैंने अभी तक सीखा है, आई एम अ कल्मिनेशन ऑफ आइडियाज, थॉट्स एंड एक्सपीरियंसेस, राइट? एंड the way I was putting them in my job, the similar way I can put them into a creative pursuit, into being an entrepreneur, starting a new journey.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Tiny Farm Friends podcast. Today's episode is extra special. In this episode, we talk about the heartwarming story of our most treasured friends, our perennial source of inspiration, Saanya and Sannat, who moved to the mountains to embrace a slow mountain life. Saanya is the kindest soul you'll come across. She is also the founder of Studio Mitti, a rural architecture studio that works with the community and natural building materials. Sannat is an absolute powerhouse with a spring in his stride. He's an accomplished trail runner, an architect, and a personal growth junkie. Moving to the mountains is not an overnight event, but a process that requires a lot of mental clarity. And in today's episode, we talk about that process. What does it take to shift to the Himalayas? Today's episode is an absolute crash course for someone looking to move to the rural pastures. So grab a coffee or your favorite hot drink, sit back, relax, and enjoy this conversation.
I'm Saanya and I'm an architect, designer, and a young farmer. And I live in Himachal Pradesh with my husband here.
Yeah, and I'm Sannat. I'm an architect by profession. I like to run long distances. And we're right now living in Himachal Pradesh. And life's good.
Yeah.
We got married last year in November and moved to Beer in Himachal this year in January 2021. And we're figuring our life here, making that transition to this village, pursuing what we want to pursue, trying to make a little money to keep their ship running, going, meanwhile, that's it.
So, but when did you start thinking that you want to move to the mountains or say rural pastures?
I'd say late 2017. Am I right? Yeah. He was in Ahmedabad, I was in Chandigarh. And he knew at that time he wanted to do trail running. Wanted to pursue that as a career.
I mean, not really as a career. I had no idea. I just had a interest in it and wanted to see what that is all about. And I was working in a German architecture company in a corporate setup. And I just couldn't see myself doing that for the rest of my life. So I was looking for alternate options, and running was one outlet.
And also that you knew you could not sit in front of the computer.
Definitely, yeah.
From
I could not sit, like in general, because I had too much energy. So I had to do something like, even in my job, I would, get up every 15-20 minutes, go and talk to people or irritate my office manager, or just fucking move around and not let anyone work. So I couldn't just sit. I mean, computer is second. Like, I enjoy being outdoors or doing anything with my hands except a computer. Yeah.
And parallelly, where were you, Saanya, at that time?
I was in Chandigarh. I was working for a firm, and when he expressed his, desire to move to the mountains, I always felt I was inspired by, small architects,
design firms.
Yeah, and not people who had big architecture firms. I liked people who worked with the community. Was very inspired by Hunarshala when we went there, and I think starting of 2017.
Design centric, research based work. on a smaller scale.
And all of those people, they're always set up in, rural environments, not the city. Because, like, somebody told me, like, the vernacular of the city is not sustainable building. It's always very exploitative there. So how can you expect, to build a sustainable architecture project that I wanted to do? Sorry, I didn't say that before. In a city. And I felt that, moving to the hills can be starting off that in my life.
So, but like, I'm sure that it wasn't, quitting the city wasn't like an overnight event, right?
For sure.
It must have been like a very big process and a journey. So, can you just walk us through like what that process was? How did your family react to your thought of moving to the mountains?
I mean, family तो बहुत बाद में आती है. It starts with yourself first, ठीक है? Even before talking to Sanya, I was thinking it in my head for at least 1.5 year, scrolling through my Instagram feed with all the outdoor and adventure content and, wanting कि यार किसी दिन ये करना है. तो सबसे पहला स्टेप तो अपने आप को कन्विंस करना होता है. So I took a lot of trips. I went to many places in Himachal. I did some courses.
That we did together.
We did together.
Some of them.
We went for some trail running races around Pune, Maharashtra, Bangalore, and in Himachal I visited Bir, Manali, Dharmkot. Most of them we went together. So I was trying to see कि ये चीज़ सिर्फ दूर से देखने में अच्छी लगती है या फिर ये एक्चुअल में I'll be able to live through that and enjoy that. And then finances come in. What do you actually do? I started sharing it with my friends, family, loved ones, people who I trusted. But सबका सवाल ये होता था क्या करेगा? लेकिन नहीं पता यार क्या करूँगा. But अभी इतना पता है कि ये नहीं करना है and I want to move somewhere remote, a quieter, simpler, create a quieter and simpler life for myself. So that was the ambiguity जो 5 साल पहले थी. And it took, these years for that clarity to come. We are still evolving, getting to that clarity. Where do we want to devote our time, energy to? To what projects, to what interests in our life? So that's still happening, but that started back then.
And how did your family respond to like this thought? When did you introduce them to this thought that I want to say quit my job, or say for example you were already working in Chandigarh that time, to move that? And I'm assuming at the same time you guys were also thinking about getting married.
Yeah.
So there must have been a lot of important questions, dilemmas, what ifs going in your mind, as well as even your parents must be thinking, like how do you want to go about it?
Yeah. So being in a relationship with Sannat, like I have grown a lot. Let me start a little piche se. Because we were doing long distance, and every other month we were traveling to meet each other, and it was always very difficult for me to go to my parents and be like, okay, for this month I'm going out for this many days, either to Ahmedabad sometimes I was going, or somewhere in Himachal we were going. So Sannat always told me that, you have to, do you want to go? You want to come, right? I'm like, yes, I do. That's clear. Then take a stand for yourself that you want to come, and then just ask them, right? So, like, it was a stepping stone, right, for me to come to that
place where you can
place
clearly say.
Where I could like say that yes, like taking a stand for both of us that
we want to
yes, exactly. And I remember it was my cousin's wedding for first time in my family that him and his family were invited to, and they knew we were a couple going to get married, and they always like, so where are you guys going to be living, right? in Ahmedabad because Sannat was working there then. And this is, I think, end of 2019.
Yeah.
If I'm not wrong. And everybody was asking this. And for the first time, without any hesitation,
Warning.
I told them.
Any previous warning for them?
To him also, right? And I said, no, we are moving to the mountains. And everybody was like, what?
Even I was shocked, like, wow, Sannat, that's bold. That's bold of you. अभी तो उन्होंने मुझे approve भी नहीं किया.
But I had this clearing in my mind that this is it.
Yeah.
And if I am not, how do I say, guilt-free or open about it, then it's always going to be that, oh, these people did not listen to their parents. I did not want that drama in my life.
Before you actually moved physically, you wanted to move mentally.
Totally.
Clear that, yes,
I mean, it's the same with everything you want to create in life. Like, before you manifest it physically, you have to manifest it in your mind, around your core group, with your loved ones. Start sharing that thing, and that's how it starts, and the plant grows.
Yeah, and just sharing that and being, completely myself.
So what was their reaction like when you?
They were very shocked. They were like, "What are you saying?" But I was always like, "We are two very educated individuals, responsible individuals. We can totally do it. There is no problem. I mean, in bigger picture, of course, something or the other always goes on. You face." How do you say, bumps in the road, but everything is manageable if you take that stand for yourself, and you just mold it around it.
Did they try and talk you out of it?
For sure. Like,
who was that?
Parents.
My dad was like, why? We have built such a comfortable life here in the city for you guys. We know everybody who could, and everybody has to make your life comfortable, not have any problems like maybe they did in their childhood or them growing up. Sorry, I'm taking over. But even I think when we were coming here in January, they were like, I will sure stay for a bit more after getting married, and this house was already leased and all.
I think for me, when I shared it with my parents, so I mean, first of all, I'm very grateful to have the most supportive parents, and my communication with them is I would say very, very to a level that I can share with them anything that I can with the best friend. तो वैसी वाली हमारी relationship है. So I'm very grateful for that. So that was what allowed me to share, कि these are my ideas. I want to get serious into running. I want to move to the mountains, to a simpler life. And then, they started asking questions. We were sitting in Ahmedabad. They were visiting us in my studio apartment. They were visiting me in my studio apartment in Ahmedabad. So they were like, कि कैसे survive करेगा, क्या करेगा? And I was like, I have calculated, blah, blah, blah. In 8,000 rupees, I can give my rent and eat food and do everything, okay? And do it very comfortably. And I saw my mother like slightly tipped, आंसू टपक रहे उनके, है ना? She's like shocked कि, I mean, now I know what was going on in her head. Like, she had aspirations for me, कि she comes from an academic background, so she wanted कि I will do my masters in architecture and do a good job outside maybe Europe or US or somewhere in India, and earn a decent amount of money, because that's what she sees in her peers, in the sons of her peers. And then suddenly this guy is saying कि borderline hippie stuff कि मैं जा रहा हूँ पहाड़ों में रहने और मैं 8,000 में अपना महीना चला लूँगा, I'll figure out मेरे को करना क्या है, blah blah blah. So for her it was a shock. My dad was still receptive. He was trying to listen, trying to understand कि क्या चल रहा है. And then there were so many emotions, so many things going on that he did not have an objection, or he was just passive, neutral at that time. And my brother was curious कि wow, My eccentric brother has come up with something new again. He can't stop being the center of attention. फिर क्या हुआ? Slowly we started having more conversations about this because that ice was broken. ठीक है, पहला barrier I put it out in front of her, and then she started understanding what I really want. She was talking to me and my mother, and she realized within herself that her expectation of me was stopping her from accepting this decision of mine. तो जब उनको ये realize हुआ, and she acknowledged that and she apologized to me, and I mean that was so huge of her, and I was like, wow, mom. I mean, I'm really privileged to have such a parent who is so conscious and aware that they can realize कि यार हम अपने ideas of life impose कर रहे थे अपने बच्चों पे, and she stopped herself right there. And from that moment on, she is my biggest support in anything that I do. Like, she saved my contact in her phone from Sannat Sajdev ya beta to Sannat Sajdev ultra runner. From that moment onwards, I was injured, I couldn't run, and she did that. So I mean, I couldn't ask for more support from that point onwards. And then I quit my job, I moved to Jaipur. That's my hometown.
This is in 2019.
Yeah, summer of 2019. So now this was a very crucial period for me because I had, decided, I had taken the plunge कि ये सब मुझे करना है. I still had the comfort of my home where I did not have to cook, and I could focus on stuff, but I was injured, so I couldn't run. So my mind, I had all the time in the world, but I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do. So I mean,
what injury?
खाली दिमाग शैतान का घर होता है. नहीं, I had a meniscus knee injury. And what?
That thing that disappeared, or the IT band issue?
No, वो नहीं था. So I mean, the injury needed at least 3 to 4 months of rehab, and I devoted myself to rehab. But at the same time, I was sorting myself out mentally because I had taken the plunge. Still, I was very insecure. I did not have so many answers. Like, I felt that I'll be after marriage, I have to be responsible man of the house. I have to earn, but how will I earn?
So
I had no clue.
I just like to interrupt you here, like to maybe go back a little.
ठीक
So
है.
when you decided to quit your job, right? So for the listeners to know, and like what goes into a transition period, like how do you plan about doing that? You don't just say I'm quitting and I'm moving to mountains tomorrow.
Yeah.
You maybe have to plan a little financially also. And I want to
100%.
have a cushion of say this much, whatever, like everybody has their own cushion.
Yeah.
And so how did you plan your transition period? So maybe let's talk about that process for both of you. How was that? Maybe first Sannat, you could go and then.
So as I mentioned, we took so many trips to figure out, whether this life is for us or not. तो उसमें I got the answer कि हाँ करना तो यही है, ठीक है.
And
then
we are not like very passive people, we knew that wherever we go, we can sort of hustle, you know what I mean, and build a life for ourselves. That is what I always.
But then there are still so many times where you would get anxious, overwhelmed. कि कैसे करेंगे? I still remember. So I was always ahead in this journey of Saanya, ठीक है. So there was this time one day I was very energetic कि ऐसी जिंदगी होगी ये, and I called up Saanya and I was like कि हमारा ऐसा घर होगा, ये होगा, वो होगा, and then मुझे ये realize नहीं हुआ कि I am overwhelming her because जितना मैंने इस बारे में सोचा है, रिसर्च करी है, प्लान करा है, उसने नहीं करा है. And then she is feeling कि मैं उसको उठा के वहाँ पे रख रहा हूँ एकदम से, और वो क्या करेगी, right? So both the partners have to work together, travel together in that journey when you're taking a step like this. And from that moment onwards, I always shared something the moment it came to me, rather than एक साथ सारी information there. And I created for her कि you also start looking for yourself, like what is the life that you want to create, visualize it, read more about what people are doing, and that's when she also started.
And so how was the period of you quitting your job? Like how many months did you give yourself, like, okay, this much saving that I want to have?
So I mean, middle of 2018 I had telling my people around, like my friends, कि this is my last job, ठीक है, इसके बाद मैं नौकरी नहीं करने वाला. तो that made me accountable कि I have to take this decision. निकल रहा था टाइम 5-6 महीने. So I mean 2019 began and I was like, dude, 6 महीने रह गए, like you have to do it. How will, like, what is the plan? So I registered for a mountaineering course, a 1-month mountaineering course, जिसकी मुझे पता था छुट्टी नहीं मिलेगी. So I was like कि तब तक तो मुझे क्विट करना ही पड़ेगा. तो अगस्त में मैंने उसके लिए रजिस्टर कर दिया. हालांकि मैं अभी तक वो कोर्स करने नहीं गया, बट लाइक that was a motivation for me कि I have to quit by mid-year because I had recently gotten a raise. I was very comfortable in my job. My boss loved me. I loved the work that I had. I had a good team. My work-life balance was good. So, I mean, there was nothing pushing me to quit. I had to put those, accountability factors in for me to actually quit. So, I registered for that course and I declared कि मैं जून में छोड़ूंगा ही छोड़ूंगा. That is why, like, ideally, I got injured in like May, so I would have continued with my job. कि यार अभी तो मैं कर नहीं सकता train, so why should I quit? I should keep working. But then because I had put in these factors, I got home in July and I faced my demons. I faced all of the insecurities I had. How will I earn? I don't know how to train and I have no understanding of scientific understanding of training principles for running. And what will we do as a family? Where will we live? So started, writing those things down, journaling, reading a lot more, talking to people in my trust circle, and having that network of people who believe in you around. That I think that's the most crucial part in that phase.
And during the time he was in Jaipur, like his mom and dad, they are the biggest supports, and to be very frank with you, because of their support towards him, that is what affected our moving to the hills for my parents as well, right? That was of course the major factor.
Yeah.
I always used to be like, uske parents allow kya? They are with him na. Kuch nahi hoega, we'll figure it out.
So, that is, so parallelly, like, he quit his job say around 19 somewhere.
Yes.
So what was going on in your life that time and how did you react to his
Before quitting? That, I just want to continue, sorry. During his time in Jaipur, I'm not sure, because of his supportive parents, and they are always in conversation with him, with other people, they're always about getting to the next step. So, like, his mother made him meet a yoga teacher in Jaipur by the name of yoga sir.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
आगे बताओ.
And then, like, there were a lot of realizations for him while he was recovering from those meniscus injuries and mentally prepared.
So you need to have those mentors around you.
Yeah. Also, like, it brings me to this realization, like, how important are these little pauses in life, or say, like, these voids in life that, like, even if you say the highlights are like maybe job, moving into your mountain life right now where you are, but like these small pauses where you're actually introspecting, and when you go through self-doubt and like talking to mentors and you're patient until that move actually happens. So that is really important.
It's really important, and that can be done in many ways. I mean, you don't necessarily need to quit your job to have that. You can just have a vacation with no cell phone, no people around, or do a course that excites you. Just or even in a single day. I mean, you can take 1 hour out to have undistracted time for yourself to figure things out. Because taking a break from a job is a big step, especially financially. And then in our modern culture, everyone's sense of self-worth is established by having a job. ठीक है, आप यहाँ रोज जाते हो, 9 घंटे देते हो अपने, और आपको ये 40-50 हज़ार महीने के मिलते हैं. एंड कोई कुछ नहीं बोलेगा आपको, चाचा मामा भाई बहन रिलेटिव्स, बिकॉज आपकी ये सिक्योरिटी है. द मोमेंट यू रिमूव दैट, सडनली क्या कर रहा है तू अपनी जिंदगी में. हालांकि वो जॉब ऐसी कर रहा था जो उसको पसंद नहीं थी, जो कि वर्ल्ड के लिए टॉक्सिक है, किसी की मदद नहीं कर रही है. यू गेट इट. सो that is also very important to understand that I mean, you don't necessarily need to quit your job, but then you need to build yourself mentally so strong कि यार मेरी वर्थ इस नौकरी से नहीं आ रही है. एज एन इंडिविजुअल जो भी मैंने अभी तक सीखा है, आई एम अ कल्मिनेशन ऑफ आइडियाज, थॉट्स एंड एक्सपीरियंसेस, राइट? एंड the way I was putting them in my job, the similar way I can put them into a creative pursuit, into being an entrepreneur, starting a new journey. So you have to build yourself up to take that leap and take your time to do that. Take time out of your day rather than just being comfortable कि job चल रही है, पैसे आ रहे हैं, you have a fixed routine जो कि आज की डेट में काउंटलेस कॉर्पोरेट, आई एम सॉरी, आई एम नॉट ट्राइंग टू मॉक देम, बट लाइक काउंटलेस पीपल का एक फिक्स्ड रूटीन होता है. बट यू नीड टू टेक 1 hour, I mean it should be mandatory for everyone, where you reflect on who you are, what are you doing, where are you going, to take those breaks. So you're very right in saying that.
So Saanya, like what was your thinking going on when he was going through this transition period? Like he had decided he was very strong, but did you still have like doubts whether like we will do this, or maybe because a lot of things must be going on? I think you might have been like started a new job, or you had other responsibilities in your own job.
Yeah.
So how did you go about your journey during that transition?
So I was already working like freelance while my job was going on, and I knew that we would like to start our own, company, architecture practice. Yeah. So in November 2019, I also applied for my resignation. Gave my resignation to my company, and we got engaged in February 2020. And between that, I just wanted to give all my energy to that one architecture project that I had with me.
Yeah.
And after that and before that, the journey that I was pursuing was going for what do they call it? Like Hunarshala had a few courses, workshops, courses.
So you were like
exposing myself to everything that Chandigarh does not offer.
Yeah. So you were actually preparing for what you might do when you move to the hills. You were like equipping yourself.
Yeah.
Maybe he was preparing like simultaneously for his running pursuits, or you were maybe preparing for your natural building techniques.
Yes.
Upgrading your vernacular architecture.
For sure. And I also wanted whatever experiences I got from all those workshops to transfer it to the students in Chandigarh, or at least my colleagues in my practice, because Chandigarh is really devoid of all of that, natural practices. So that was one goal. And then we started our own practice, worked on a few projects.
Fought a lot.
Yeah, it was difficult. It is difficult,
Working with me.
Generally, like, I mean, this is also an interesting topic that maybe we'll have to do another podcast, like how, like, couples who are into design, how do they work together and what goes on when they work together.
Shit, we're not ready for that.
So, I think your engagement happened in February 2020.
Yes, and I had already taken that next step of starting our own firm and working on projects. They were not sustainable per se, but
you need to fill your tummy.
Yeah.
Like something for the soul and something for...
Yes, exactly.
I mean, you need to keep yourself busy. And no one, the ideal client with the ideal project is not coming to your doorstep कि अच्छा आपने नौकरी छोड़ी है ये लोग करो. It will take a lot of time.
So how did lockdown and this whole pandemic add to your anxiety, or how did like it played into the whole process of making the transition to the rural life that you wanted to live?
For us, I think lockdown was a good thing. Sannat got stuck in beer. He'll tell you what happened.
Yeah.
Nah, but that was for me because we are not together, so you can also tell your story.
So let's start
No, I
maybe with
think
like
Sannat-
after engagement.
Hmm.
Like,
So engagement happened on 29th February 2020.
Yeah.
And my plan was to come to Himachal after that, scout some places, Beer, Manali, Dharmkot,
To move.
travel around.
Yeah.
Because by the end of 2020, we were supposed to get married. So I had to find a place to rent for us to move in after our marriage.
Sannat, I just realized all your what you put on stake is like always so determinative, right? Like you put that I'm quitting my job because I have that course. Then
Yeah.
and
You have to like put the cheese in front of you to like actually
100%.
work for it.
100% chahiye ho.
And now it was like
It's very logic. I'm very
Shadi
logical
and the move
inclined.
are like together. Like
So yeah.
So I came to Beer, and in 3 days, I think the Janta curfew happened and the lockdown happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in a homestay where I made a couple of friends who were also stuck like me, and we became a lockdown family. And eventually, I stayed here for 8 months in Beer, and I fell in love with Beer. I mean, we had already been here, and Saanya had already approved Beer. And I was like, come on.
Before you coming here.
Yeah,
Before, we had taken 2 trips here. इससे पहले.
So let's sorry to interrupt. Let's go back a little and let's draw down. Like I'm sure because you guys are very much into Excel sheets and planning every bit of it. So what are the parameters or say criteria that went into like checking out Beer as a first place for that matter?
Yeah, so you're right in saying that I'm a very logical and calculative person. So we made an Excel sheet with the name
and
of
I
the
support him in doing that.
the name of the town, the population of the town, distance from Panchkula, Chandigarh. From that's because that's
Why
where,
Panchkula, Chandigarh?
because that's where Sanya is from, and how can you reach that place? What are the medical or general infrastructure around that place? Will we get work as architects in that place? For me, is it a good place to? Is there an outdoor or adventure community around there so that I can pursue trail running and do things like that?
Mountains that you can trail run on.
Yeah. And then how's the weather in general? Okay, we don't want to be in extreme climate. There needs to be a balance. Yeah, Sanya is very clear that I need to be cozy all the time, no matter where we move in the hills.
Yeah.
So we had all of these parameters, and we had visited Beer in 2019 August for Sanya's birthday when it was monsoon, and we had a lovely 4 days here. I came again in October to do a permaculture course for 2 weeks, and then this was my third time here. And Sanya had already approved Beer just after our first visit, and I was like, "No, dude, this is too early."
Yeah, I know, but it was very like a gut feeling for me.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I like it was not far from home, my home.
How far is it from Chandigarh?
It's 6.5 hours from Chandigarh. And
driving.
Yeah.
And 2 hours from Dharamshala airport, from where you can get a flight to Delhi, Mumbai,
yeah,
Chandigarh.
an overnight bus, just like
from Delhi.
From Delhi and
Delhi
Chandigarh.
as well, right? And also I like that the weather was good here. It was very bearable then, I thought, but right now I feel it's very nice, pleasant. Most of the year and few months in the year are cold. Then what was it? The terrain is good. We're still in the hills, but it's not like Manali or...
It's very gentle.
Yeah,
it's not a
it's
narrow
gentle.
valley, so you get
lot
sun
of sun.
throughout the day, throughout the year.
Yeah.
So even if it's 5 degrees or 7 degrees, which is the coldest I think Beer is.
And also we found it, we found Beer. We had been to Dharamkot before, which is not Dharamshala. Dharamshala was scary for us. Like it's so populated, right? And what else? We found it to be a small town, not crowded, and nice people as well. Whoever we met, the cafes were closed the time we had come, but I like the vibe here. It was good for us. Yeah, that was my gut feeling.
So like this is about the parameter that went in choosing the place. Now maybe you could walk us through the journey of identifying what all goes into moving to that place. When you were here, like finding a land or finding a house.
Okay.
So what is the process?
I mean, you just need a room. What else do you need? That is the only criteria. You need just need a house with basic facilities that are working for you to work in, for you to live in.
Before we get on to that, like we had this phone call, right? Sannat was here for a few months already.
Yeah.
And because he couldn't travel around in Himachal, he just called me one day, and because he liked beard, he called me one day and asked me, beard kare final. I was on top of the world that day. I was like, yes, done. No doubts at all,
Because lockdown for me was a good opportunity to spend some good time here. And I realized after 4 months that I came with a rucksack which had 3-4 pair of clothes and very basic necessities, and I'm living in a homestay. I got some groceries from the market and I had a very simple life, and I did not feel like going back home except for missing my family and friends. I was very okay with that lifestyle, with the routine of the slow life of the village. And that was my yes, basically. That okay, this is the place.
And he met some good friends here. I think the community also was one thing that he liked.
For those 8 months when he was here, like how was your life going on during that lockdown period?
Yeah, I was at home, stuck at home, nowhere to go, but talking to him on the phone.
I don't think you minded it.
No, I did not actually. I was doing my own thing, making a routine, working out.
I would have definitely killed myself if I was stuck in an apartment or in a house. I'm so privileged to have been here.
I was okay. I was cooking. I was making new recipes.
And I think you guys must have been like also planning marriage.
Yes,
so
exactly.
That was the most crucial thing.
That after August I was like, it's time, let's gear up. August 2020, I mean.
I was actually training for a race in October, for which I was more passionate about. Second was the wedding.
No, and finding a house, there were 3 things.
Finding a house.
Finding a house here. Coming to that, so how, like, just to explain a layman, like, if you have to explain it to somebody, like how do you find a house in Himachal or in a rural place? What is the first step that you do? Like,
first of all, don't be a cocky person from the city. Okay?
Entitled kid.
Entitled, privileged, cocky person. Try to understand the locals, their culture, their ways of going about life. Talk to them. Tell them who you are, what you're interested in, what are you doing. Make some connections with the local community. Kitne bhi saal yahan pe reh lo, you will always be an outsider, but still you can gain respect and friendships with the local community if you are generally nice and if you help people around in whatever small way you can. And I think that's the key. I mean, the local community, in generally Himachal, people are very nice. I mean, jitna tourism aata jata hai, they understand that, these people are from the city and there is a certain insider-outsider relationship, and I mean, you need to have that relationship also going, that, they need to be reimbursed for whatever services they are providing. And tourism जैसे आता है, थोड़ा सा लोगों का perspective भी change होता है local people का. But that is the foundation, okay? Because you'll never be a local. You need to have good connections, good relationships, and treat them well with respect, and you'll get anything that you want for, if you treat the locals with what they deserve.
And also, I feel don't expect miracles in a day. You can't find a house in villages around the main town area like this.
Because things happen very slow here.
There are no brokers, 10 brokers going around with their bikes finding houses. No, people here are just looking for livelihood and that's all. I'm just saying that it takes time.
Yeah, so if I can also say, for you guys, you had decided that it will be a transition period. Maybe for some people who want to quit the city, they want to directly buy land.
Yeah, or lease.
Or lease a land for that matter. But I think you guys chose let's first put our foot into the place, figure it out, and then try and see what is on offer.
So that's very personal. And
personal also, but also we learned somewhere, I had come here in July 2020 and Sannat had found a house here, it was a 3 BHK and but it was a brick and mortar house, nothing else. We thought about it, setting it up for 10 years for ourselves. At that time, that was also difficult for us, because none of us was there here in Beer. And Sannat would also travel for the wedding in October. So, it was a it was a process.
Everything fell into place.
Yes, slowly. Yeah. Exactly. We got to know, okay, this is not what we can do. Something is we can do. And also, sorry to cut you, but Sannat had parameters of another
That's
Excel.
What I wanted to know.
Yeah.
What parameters?
Come on, you don't know the parameters. One was exactly. It should not be surrounded by other houses. It should look. Then
should be on the ground.
It should be on the ground floor. Then what else?
They shouldn't be. I mean, it shouldn't be near the tourist, activity.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're not moving into an apartment into a city. So I had a couple of other things as well. But again, those things are personal. So what I was saying is that for me, it was very clear that we are not just moving to a rural place. Okay? That is one aspect. The bigger aspect is that we are getting married. Mm-hmm. Although we have been in a relationship for so long, we haven't really lived together. Yeah. And when two individuals live together, it is inevitable that there are going to be differences.
It's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. So we will have to learn to live together as well. So I did not want too much on our plate that, we are building a house, we are setting up a place, and we are running a business, we are learning to live together. So I wanted a place that is sorted. I don't need to invest in furniture. I don't need to get anything done. I needed a ready to move in place so that I can create a life with my wife and we can pursue our individual pursuits at the same time.
Because I had projects that were going on, we did not have time to build a whole house for ourselves in the short amount of time that we had before marriage and whatnot.
So, lot of things that you mentioned are also very personal. So somebody who is not getting married or somebody who is an individual who wants to quit the city. Yeah. So I think the main thing in a nutshell is that it is very important that you come and stay at that particular place and figure it out. You cannot just be in the city that you're trying to quit and find a place in rural area, right? You have to come here and really talk to people to find that
100%. Because जब बिजली जाएगी, जब पानी खत्म होगा, या जब पानी गंदा आएगा, या फिर जब पड़ोसी का कुत्ता तुम्हें परेशान करेगा. I mean, there are endless problems, and you won't, get good internet for an important Zoom meeting. You won't get something you wanted delivered immediately from the city.
You can't just close your bedroom door in the city and expect things to just happen around you without any problem,
Yeah, so I mean, of course, that's step one. Staying in that place to actually see what the daily life is like, from buying groceries to making friends to running a business.
Yeah, so you guys like figured out a really beautiful place here finally, and so you moved after marriage in say January 2021, right?
Yeah.
So like, what all did you bring along with yourself? How was that process, and like the feeling of day one or day zero, let me call that, when you were here?
Oh my God, it was a procession. Our parents were like, ये भी ले जाओ, ये भी ले जाओ. हमने कहा भाई इतना बड़ा तो घर नहीं है, रखेंगे कहाँ? And there were two cars, like Sanya's dad's driver and me. I was in the other car. Two cars full of stuff, and the suitcases were so heavy that we couldn't carry them through the trail to the house because our house is like 150 meters away from the road. So उस time पे भी like day one, ठीक है, 5 minutes into coming to Beer, I had to request local people who were दिहाड़ी पे काम कर रहे थे कि
Please.
भाई जी नमस्ते, मेरा बैग रखवा देंगे प्लीज. So nothing can happen here if you are an arrogant ass and you think that money can solve everything. You need to have relationships. You need to respect the local community culture.
So since you brought local community up, like how did you connect with them, like, and how have they responded to your presence here, like, and has it been like a process again, or how has it been?
I think a very good example is Goody auntie. You can tell about her.
She works for us, but she's family for us as well. Yeah. She's our neighbor.
अभी उन्होंने मेरे को राखी बांधी 2 दिन पहले.
And what else?
So
like her family, our family, us, we're all very mingled together. When it comes to work, all of us do that. But again, when I came here, I did not want to be that entitled kid from the city who had people around her working for her. I wanted to do everything myself.
Most of the things, cleaning,
cutting, chopping, whatever, cooking, etc. But we then figured that that's not the way how we want to live our life. Why not bring in the community to help us out and of course give her the required means for her to also,
I mean,
for her to elevate her life.
It's a very mutual relationship.
Yes, it is.
Whenever I go for expeditions or adventures, I'm rest assured that Sanya will be taken care of. She has so many strong women around her to take care of her. कुछ भी उसको जरूरत है तो she'll be taken care of. And then they're always asking कहाँ जा रहे हो, कब आओगे. उनके घर पे कुछ स्पेशल बनता है, so they get it for us. सान्या makes something new. पेस्टो सॉस बनाएगी, सान्या तो लेके जाएगी. वड़ा पाव बनाएगी तो लेके जाएगी. So those things keep on happening. We engage them for whatever work we have. If someone is coming to stay with us near the village and we don't have space in our house, we make them stay at their place. And we go to their kids' birthdays and ask about what's happening in their family. So,
we also get introduced to their culture this way, right?
Yeah. So
we don't want to be in that our bubble. We want to expand it.
Yeah, I understand like that now you've become like more of a family, right? Mostly like what do you think like the locals in a rural area expect from a couple or say people coming from city to live in their place? Like, do they expect anything from them?
They expect a lot of respect to their surroundings. That is one thing that I figured.
I think they are generally very curious.
Yes.
कि ये लोग कैसे चलते हैं, गाड़ी में कहाँ जाते हैं रोज, ठीक है. They're like, कहाँ घूमने गए थे? हमने कहा आंटी काम करने गए थे. कहाँ घूमने गए थे? So because see their life revolves around the village. They hardly go even like 2.5 kilometers to the market. So for us, going to the market to do something or meet someone is like घूमने जाना, right? And then the 3rd month, the 4th month, we started working with the land to grow our vegetable patch. For them, they were like, ये लोग भी ये काम करना चाहते हैं. And we were, practicing permaculture principles, making raised beds. And these guys were like, अरे ये नई तकनीक खेती की लेके आए हैं. So they were very curious कि how we do everything. What are our interests in life?
That was a very interesting way.
Yeah. So they are very curious to learn and talk to you about what do you want in life, where are you coming from.
And in the same process, we also learn from them.
100%. Yeah, how to live simply and be content.
Yeah.
I mean, शहर में रह के satisfaction और contentment तो is always elusive. यहाँ पे so many people are okay with life, just with whatever they have.
They ask those existential questions like, "What is the purpose of my life?"
Who has time for that?
Sorry.
What is the purpose of my life? Do you think will it?
Like, do the locals ask those questions like which we city people do sometimes ask, you know,
why
like,
am I on this earth?
Why am I on this earth?
So my relationship with Goody Auntie is very fun. I call her my younger sister from previous life. So I'm always pulling her case and we are always making fun of these questions and things like that. कि क्यों जी रहे हैं, क्या कर रहे हैं, in a fun way. But
Bada Bhaiya, he calls him.
Yeah, but I think they keep themselves busy with all they have to do so that they don't get up too much in their head. You know?
So yeah, that's a good point that you brought up. Like, how important is physical labor, or say getting into some hobby or some tasks like they have been always doing, you know, like farming, doing it with their own hands, getting physically tired at the end of the day so that you don't have those thoughts or you toss and turn in your bed. Like, do you think like physical labor and the, you know, creating something sacred with your own hands gives you some other kind of satisfaction or content?
Sure.
See?
See, for me, this realization came very late in my life. But when it came, it was very profound and it changed almost everything for me. How I eat, how I sleep, how I walk, how I think. That your body is the only thing that will stay with you, you know, through your life. Even your mother, father, your partner, everything that you have, whether it's a car or everything, it will dissipate, it will go away. Your body is the only thing and your mind which will remain. So if you're not taking care of it, it's simply logically stupid. And you can do that in your own way. So here what I observed is that yes, people are more in tune, you know, with their bodies and their minds. Like they're sleeping just after the sunset, getting up early in the morning, keeping themselves busy physically as well. So if you have a routine like that, you don't necessarily need to take 1 hour out to do exercise per se. ठीक है, मतलब if you read Blue Zones by Dan Buettner, तो उसमें he explains कि यार how even centenarians have a lifestyle in which they are squatting and the movement patterns throughout the day are such that they are fit enough. They don't need exercise. Centenarians, I mean, so I think that's absolutely critical for mental vitality as well. Like if you are physically fit, creation can be an absolute joy. Work can be an absolute joy. But the problem is we have created it as a separate thing to do. ठीक है, to do list में काम और add हो गया कि भाई exercise करनी है. You can just be smart enough to integrate into your lifestyle.
Right. And you can do that in the city as well. What are
endless ways you can do that in a city. Why do you need to sit to work? Stand and work. Squat and eat. You know, there are endless ways. Just don't take the lift. Walk up the stairs.
Right.
Okay, eat whole fresh foods. Grow a small garden in your balcony. There are endless ways of doing that. I mean, city and share are just like, city and the rural areas, these are just excuses कि यार यहाँ पे ये possible है. सब जगह पे सब possible है. शुरू यहाँ पे होता है दिमाग में. You need to have that clarity कि why is it important. Once that is established, there are endless ways. I mean, people listening can find 10 more better ways than me.
So coming back to the question of creating things with your own hand, since you are like currently pursuing your design aspirations as well, like have you got like created that time to try and do something with your hands, use different materials? How like satisfying is that for you, Sanya?
Don't know how to answer that. I'm still in the process, and I will be experimenting soon. But like building with mud and all, it's still.
She's too complacent, I'll tell you. She has made mud bricks this year.
Oh,
she
yeah,
started
yeah.
her own
I did
vegetable
actually.
patch.
Sound like really good DIY project.
Now let me tell you.
Okay, I forgot about the the Adobe mix. Yeah.
She has worked on her farm, okay, single-handedly, 1 hour a day for at least 2-3 months continuously.
Eggplants?
Yeah.
That's what they're called.
She started brewing kombucha.
Yeah.
She's right now using discarded toiletries bottles to make a stand for the money plant to grow.
Yeah.
So I mean, she keeps occupied. She keeps herself occupied with such projects, endless.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So we talked about.
And also another thing. So there is this auntie who makes baskets. I saw one day when I was going to the market. She makes these bamboo baskets, and I thought, oh, I can use her skill. Like I can collaborate with her and make some more like products,
functional and appealing designs.
Yeah, and also talk to you about this. And you said maybe we can like have the bamboo weave inside the wattle dog and make it take it even further. So yeah, things like that. I like to engage with the community, and so that I can collaborate with them and their skills.
So we talked about the local community and what is your relationship with the local community here. But can you also tell us about other people who have quit the city and are like living in Beed right now? And why are they living here? Like, is it because of the work from home? And what is your relationship with those people? Like, how is the community here of expats?
Yeah, I think the most common reason for people to move to Beer is to get a break from the city, to live a slower, simpler life.
And we have seen an influx after
Recently,
the lockdown. Yeah, because people want to just come and travel to the mountains while working because they have the opportunity to work from home.
Yeah.
But people who came before, or not just on a whim, they have a lot of occupations.
Yeah, that's actually a big number in itself, even before the lockdown.
Yeah.
I mean, from lawyers to architects, designers, and
graphic artists, illustrators,
people who run cafes, restaurants, and small homestays or hotels.
A South Indian family, they run this cafe by the name of Avaz. Their son came to Beer, like the city.
So there are so many stories like that.
Called his family from Pune, now they live here and run a cafe. Yeah.
People come for workshops at Deer Park Institute and they end up staying in Beer, making the transition.
How do you guys make a living here? And maybe also can you like tell us like how are the other expats who are living here, they try and make a living?
I mean, for other people, you'll have to go looking. But I think the options are endless. Yeah, people sell postcards. There are people who make tattoos as a side business. They are the main occupation, which they do freelance projects and things like that. There are people who are in a mainstream part-time job or a part-time job, and then they teach yoga on weekends and things like that. So, I mean, you need to have a balance between earning from your passion, which you're trying to convert into a mainstream thing, and the thing that sustains you currently. So for us, what sustains us currently is the architecture projects that we do in the city. We are trying to get some here. Sana did a small project here, and B, and then another one she just signed recently. And apart from that, we were running a homestay for a year. Now we are planning to do some other things. So you have to constantly shift your focus. And
But a
then
balance is very important, we feel.
balance and understanding
Yeah.
that you need to vary your sources of income. ठीक है? Diversify.
Adapt.
Because एक ही डायरेक्शन से नहीं यहाँ पे सस्टेन कर पाओगे तुम. Although the cost of living is too low, but still you need to diversify because tourist season changes. So you can't rely on the hospitality business for the entire year, right? So you need to be smart. You need to diversify.
That's really important.
Yeah.
And how does a typical day for both of you look like, if there is one?
I think it's very different. Right?
Yeah. I used to get so anxious before because he's an early riser, very organized, and has been living in the mountains for 2 years now almost, you know. But I had just moved. Don't want to be that entitled kid, I know, but I was, you know, and did not have a structure. But it has been a transition, and I used to get anxious, but then I realized I'm my own person. I don't have to. Nobody else dictates my day except for myself.
Yeah.
So that is one. And what does a day look like? He gets up early at 6:30. I get up at 7:30, and then some housework. We start our day around 10:30, 11. He goes for a run after getting up after his coffee.
I like to have a slow morning.
Yeah.
Because I have to get a run in, have to get a workout in. So most times I'm tired or either very hungry after my workout. So I don't want to do stuff that involves my brain. So at the first thing in the morning, I would either read or journal or hear to a podcast, do basic mobility, wake up, have coffee. So I like to have at least 1.5 hour in the morning for myself. It's my reflection or it's my time basically. And then I head out for my run or my workout, come back, auntie's here, she's cleaning the space and we help her with that, plan the food for the day. It's very important because I eat a lot with all my training. And then Sanya sits to work around 10, 11,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
After her workout. And then I think...
Yeah, and then I get free around 5:30. Then it's my time to cook. So dinner happens and it has to be ready by 7.
Yeah.
But
I like to eat early and
Yeah.
sleep early. So
Yeah, and then after dinner, it's never work time. Work rarely happens for me because at 8:30 lights are off already and
9.
9, yes.
Before 9, you
Thank
don't let
God.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I want to work, I go to my table and just a small light is enough. And then 10:30 max, we're both in bed and we're sleeping. He to already is. I'm also then. And 10:30, 11, I'm also off.
So for me, most of my day goes in eating, sleeping, running, training, and taking care of the house, taking care of the homestay, managing our finances, planning our next steps, planning the projects. Like Sana does the actual work. I handle communication with clients and planning the meetings and stuff like that.
And because he's a social animal, getting work.
Getting projects. Yeah. So we have more or less those responsibilities clearly divided. That helps, so that you can do those things at your own time. Because that is the advantage of moving away from fixed jobs or fixed structures, that you get the freedom to do things at your own time, at your own pace. That is the freedom everyone is seeking when they say, we want to get out of a structure, of a job, of a city.
And also, I feel because there are very less distractions in the hills, it is easier for you to find that moment where you can just think and plan and think about yourself and what is bothering you or what is it that you want to do and do that instead of like my life in the city even right now, like when I go home is very different. It's like meetings, going to visit friends calling you have to go, right? Getting ready, doing your work during the day. I'm just saying there's so many things, in the city during a day that happens that in a living in a rural setting, it's very easy for you to
stay focused.
Yes, stay focused also and very less distractions.
Own your time.
Yeah, you can, yes. And friends are also, not they're not asking you to meet every day.
So,
and you
since
can
you brought that up, like that going back to the city, right? So what do you miss the most about city?
I'll say the convenience, maybe. Yes, the convenience. And
of what? Like what particularly?
Like everything I can get on my doorstep. Doorstep kya? When I need it, wherever.
Basically,
I want
what
it.
she means is कि एक छोटा सा प्लम्बर का भी अगर काम कराना हो तो it's just a 5-minute call away. Here it will take at least 2 days. ठीक है? So things happen very slowly.
Slow. Yeah. That is a fact that cannot be changed. But it also makes your life simpler. Actually. There are 2 shops. If the thing is not at those 2 shops, it's not there.
I think for me, I mean, I don't want to be very arrogant, but I don't miss anything about the city. I hate that I have to go to the city to meet my family and my parents. So I'm trying to get them to move here once they retire and get free of their commitments. So for me, I'm very happy where I am, and I don't like to travel and move a lot as well. So I'm content.
Fascinating. And so like the weather keeps changing here, it's sunny right now and it might just like rain like crazy, cats and dogs in next hour. So does it affect your mood, your like day? How does the weather affect you?
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
does. Yeah.
there are 2 ways you can approach this. One is you can resist it. One you can embrace the ever changing or impermanence nature of it. Because like earlier, I was so rigid about my training, right? I have to get this done. I have to get this done at this time. But then you don't really dictate that. I mean, weather is just a analogy of life कि कभी भी कुछ भी हो जाता है and you're like यार मेरे को तो ये करना था but अब ये आ गया. तो instead of fighting it, you just adapt, है ना? Like मैं सुबह से नहीं अगर कपड़े सुखा पाया, अभी धूप आई तो मैंने अब सुखा लिए. तो you adapt yourself. Like we are very good at finding creative solutions, humans, right? So if you embrace change, if you embrace uncertainty, you can find ways around that, and you can find joy in that, right? There are so many moments on a run when it would suddenly just be windy or start raining and the weather would clear up and the view would be so nice. And I mean, I don't forget those moments on my outdoor adventures, or even just at home with Sanya, like when you would see a rainbow, or suddenly it would get foggy and you'd be surrounded by clouds.
Yeah.
So you just have to be grateful for what's happening and embrace it. Like plan your day around it.
So although I've been an audience to your transition and to your story always, like of you moving here, you getting married, but like today it has been really fascinating knowing the complete story from you. But before we end this podcast and episode, I have like a long, so you could say this one is a long question, but so do you really think that one needs a clear plan before he or she moves to a rural pasture? And also, what advice or tips that you would give someone who's just maybe like started to think about like whether can I move to the mountains, or like like all those questions you start but maybe stop by say self-doubting. So what are some advice and wise tips that you would like to give?
I think for me, the biggest realization is that the means can be figured out. Okay? And of course, they will vary. So, I mean, there's no general advice for that. Okay? हर person की circumstance, situation, their interests, their choices and passions in life are very different. So, everyone has the capability to find a way. But how you find a way will be determined by what is going on in your mind. Okay? So for me, the biggest part of the work needs to happen in your mind. You have to know your why. ये मैं क्यों करना चाहता हूँ. Start writing things down. Start exposing yourself to new material. Keep reading stories of people who have done similar things. Write down your insecurities and things that scare you in front of you. किस चीज से आपकी फटती है अपने सामने लिखो उसको बड़ा बड़ा, उसको शेयर करो अपने दोस्तों से एंड पीपल इन योर कोर ग्रुप. And with time, with experiences, with travels, with more workshops, with meeting more people, and doing of all of this homework in your mind, na, you will find answers for yourself जो आपकी situation में particular work करते हैं. For the biggest time, I couldn't make the leap because मुझे खुद ही विश्वास नहीं था कि मैं ये कर लूंगा या करना चाहता हूँ. The moment I had the confidence and the belief कि okay, this life is right for me and I can make it work, फिर सारे practical aspects शुरू हुए. कहाँ रहेंगे, कैसे कमाएंगे. तो most of the work has to happen, behind the curtains.
Planning is not important, but just going for it can also work for you, for sure.
Yeah.
But
at some point you have to, right?
Yes, at some point everybody has to just go for it. But
everybody who's interested in doing this, which is a very small niche.
I feel that experiencing it for yourself, it's a make or break for you. That decides. That's what I feel, no?
Yeah, because I have friends who absolutely did not plan and they are living here since 10 years, and I am a crazy planner. So it can work both ways. You don't need to be a particular kind of way to make this leap. So everyone can do it, यार. आपको अपने तरीके की जिंदगी क्रिएट करनी है, बट उसके लिए आपको क्लैरिटी होनी चाहिए. आई थिंक क्लैरिटी इज द वर्ड.
और क्लैरिटी होनी नहीं चाहिए, क्लैरिटी आती रहती है, आती जाती है, इट डेवलप्स. है ना, एकदम ऐसे नहीं होता कि आज मैं बैठूं और क्लैरिटी लिख लूंगा मेरे को क्या चाहिए, ऐसे नहीं होता.
I told myself when I was scared कि will this work out or not. I was like, Sannat, you're 27 years old. You're a capable architect. You're earning decent amount of money. Even if you quit this job and you fail, you can still get a job again, right? And the risk that you want to take right now, or the things that you want to pursue, जो कि society या लोगों को normal नहीं लगती, वो अगर अभी नहीं करेगा तो कब करेगा?
Yeah, because people try and put it there for say like when they're 40, but I think this is the time you can maybe take those risks and always fall back on this.
I think you can take risks at any point. मतलब 5 साल बाद अगर मुझे लगेगा मुझे रनिंग नहीं करनी और मुझे कुछ absurd सी चीज बताना, मुझे हॉर्स राइडिंग करनी है, तो मैं करूंगा. And I mean, you should be able to do that. I mean, like how many times do you have opportunity to follow? Like life is very short, I think. So you need to take those risks when you have the energy and vitality to do so.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, those are some really good advice that you just gave.
And my favorite quote about this topic, I don't remember the person who it's from. It's in Into the Wild also. Mm-hmm. The core of man's spirit comes from new experiences. Right. So you need to jump into new experiences
and expose yourself to that. Yeah. So so also, like, how do you define success and what are your plans on it?
Success?
Yeah. Like, what is your definition of success?
I don't like the word. I think success is contentment. If you are content, because goals and aspirations are elusive. एक जगह जाते हो तो दूसरा हो जाता है ना? तो success is being content and grateful in your everyday life.
And at the same time, like striving
100%, to grow and expand, but also be okay with where you are every day. That for me is success.
Maybe you can
loving yourself.
You can like give an analogy to a tree, like it's there with the root, but still trying to get taller.
What was the second part of the question?
What are your future plans? And like I'm sure like you said, you don't believe in like goals, but you also do that. Like at the same time, everybody has their ambition. But what are your some immediate dreams that you want to achieve?
Don't be shy.
An earth project for me, that is one. And then making our house, and what else? And then helping the community along with that, and उनको भी साथ लेके कुछ करें मेरे लिए, है ना? And not just in building, in everything that I'm interested in, है ना? And फिर what else? We would like to some homestay business. That is one pipe dream that we have.
Yeah. And for me, for my running, I want to get even more serious in that, and maybe train as a professional trail runner in India, and do trail races around the world, travel with Saanya, and then come back to our quiet corner in Beer.